Underdog Daily with the Badge Bros, John and Hayden Winks today. Longtime friend of our show, Underdog's own. It's been too long since we had a catch up. I've missed him at the last couple Dog Bulls, but you guys have been following his content, obviously. Got his most recent favorite targets by round up right now. I was pleased. I was greatly pleased to learn that so many of those were targets of mine as well. We'll walk through some of those, talk about some ADP stuff, draft a BBM together, and then we'll push this one right into the next one. And I will do baseball for all of you. But first and foremost, my guy Hayden, what's good, my friend?
Yeah, I think I'll be there for this year's Dog Bowl. So yeah, I had to miss the last one for baby purposes, but I'm ready to get out there in the streets and mix it up. So yeah, good to chat.
Back.
It also feels like once like August 1st comes around, like you have to solidify your player stances. Like everything's kind of a work in progress. But like once training camp's there, it's like these are my guys, and for the rest of the summer, it's like making sure that we're actually getting overexposed on everybody. So
love it. Yeah, no, I'm in the same camp as you right now. I've kind of been like, a little bit of an 8.3% bro for a little bit there, but now I'm really fortifying some of my stances, some other places I want to get over on. CeeDee Lamb's on the cover for good reason. I was very bullish on three guys at the start of the year here, and it's led to primarily in my Badge Bros Brawl contest stuff because you can get so much more exposure to those top end targets. I've been really pounding the table. CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Devin Achane. So I was really happy to see them as some of the targets on your list. Not to double down on your previous content, but just talk me through like just one or two of those spots.
Yeah, so I think with CeeDee Lamb, he's actually number one in the last 2 years in points per game and half PPR, even more than Jamar Chase, and he's drafted like 5th overall. I think that we all understand that the drop off at wide receiver is pretty substantial after the first 2 rounds. I've been doing some research over just like hit rates since Best Ball Mania has started, and like the upside hit rates for wide receivers drafted in the 3rd and 4th round is like basically non-existent. Like you have like some minor wins there, but a lot of the times it's like hard for that level of wide receiver to get into that elite class. So if you want one of those guys, you got to draft them early. So right now I'm breaking ties in favor of some of the wide receivers in round 1. That said, there are also some absolute stud running backs this year too. So it's a great first 15, 16 overall picks. And I think that the 2-3 turn, 3rd round, 4th round, I think that's going to be where the money's decided this year.
Yeah, you and Josh have talked about it a lot, that like the back end of the draft board feels so much stronger this year than even most notably last year. But like just as a macro there, I actually have this very interesting question for you associated with the hit rate stuff. Yeah, you've been very good to point out that in that, bracket there, yet kind of this year, I feel like a lot of us have fallen in love with George Pickens, myself a little bit with Jalen Waddle, and they kind of all fall in that bucket. Should I be kind of like negating my player take and my read on this year's situation for some of that historical data because they are thinner bets in that regard? Or do you think this is like a case by case situation where we could tell ourselves some stories about that 4th and 5th round wide receiver tier?
Yeah, bucket data is like an easy way to kind of like visualize data. It's not necessarily like the best analysis stuff because like you can be like 2 spots ahead in rankings and you're in a different bucket and like what really was the difference. That said, I do think that the type of profile in that round 3, round 4 wide receiver range like is a kind of buyer beware. And I think that the guys that you just named are closer to like 5th round, 6th round guys, at least at certain points of the draft season. And I think the opportunity cost really falls apart there. Like there's no more elite tight ends, there's no more elite quarterbacks to draft. So you're basically between 2 positions. Some of the running backs in that range are nice. Some other ones have a high bust rate as well. So yeah, I'm actually really okay with George Pickens and Jalen Waddle, but I do think that the opportunity cost looks a lot different there versus when Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen are picked. Like you're like Breece Hall and Marion Hampton. We know that these guys have huge upside. Kyron Williams, we know he has huge upside. Once we get to rounds 5, 6, and 7, I think like that's where the upside shots no longer exist. And then you're just hoping that Jalen Waddle turns into a wide receiver 2 in fantasy, not necessarily like the top 6 wide receiver in fantasy.
Do we overstate that ceiling outcome potential of that group then, like just perennially?
Yeah, I think that we probably make the case for someone like Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams this year and stuff, like how exactly they're going to get there. I do think that we have a little bit more depth at wide receiver. So we'll see like where Loud McConkey falls in drafts. Like if he's like an early 3rd round pick, I think he's a totally different bucket than the rest of this group. I would say T Higgins right now is in a different bucket as well. And he's actually one of the players I'm really high on. I think his like baseline projection should be like in the middle of the 2nd round. And then he has all that contingent value if something ever happens to Jamar Chase. And you can technically get him in the 3rd round. So that's like where I'm talking about the buckets. Like he's technically a 3rd round guy. We know he has an evident ceiling. I just think that's just because the depth in the top 24 overall picks right now is deeper than usual. And he to me is like a typically like a round 2 profile.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's twofold to your job that I find very cool, that you do this kind of like macro viz data, you do the analysis of the BBM stuff, but then you also do like the hyper ball knowing, appear on 4-letter networks talking ball these days. Like I think it's a very cool dichotomy. So it just kind of naturally came to me this question in the balancing act of those two, for like the sickos, the hardos in our community that are the 150 BBM crowd that are of that variety. Where's the balancing act for you on a personal level? Like if you were in my shoes and you're going to draft, 800 to 1,000 best ball teams this off season, where would the balancing act and tipping point between the ball knowledge versus like the macro learned principles kind of be?
I think the first thing you do is you got to get the principles down. I also just don't think it takes like that much time to get this kind of locked in. Like sign up for a course, watch a couple shows. You can figure out what roster construction is. You can figure out when to reach on guys, when you should be scrolling down, what's appropriate. And I think that it should only take you so many hours, so many days to like learn all this type of stuff. And then once you have that down, then it's all about the edges and player evaluations and team stacks and all that type of stuff. So like I think long term, more people will figure out exactly what roster construction means. Like how, like to me, I view that through round 8, round 10, not just through round 18. Diminishing returns, you got to understand that concept. You have to understand team stacking, all those things. And then once you have that kind of settled, and this is my 4th season at Underdog, I think I've got all that stuff figured out. Now it's all about just player evaluations at this point. I think that's makes it really fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe a little more than my 4th season playing on Underdog, and I'm still not sure I got it all figured out, but that might just speak
We got it
more
close
to
enough. We got it close enough.
Might speak more to your intelligence versus mine. But yeah, man, no, I think that's a really nice synopsis, because it is, I don't know, it's an evergreen debate in our circles here, especially on a week-to-week basis with like the battle royales and stuff. Like how much does slot corner matchup versus a cover 2 scheme, blah blah blah, go into, oh yeah, he just projects for 8.3 fantasy points this week.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's a evergreen.
The projections matter a lot. Let's just be
Mm-hmm.
honest. The projections matter a lot. I think when you're talking about like off-season content, I think that the ball knowing stuff makes a lot more sense because you can extrapolate that over like a sample of 17 games. And you can also like look at the depth chart and see like maybe the target share, like if that's a 3% difference versus what people are thinking, like that's actually a huge deal, where in a 1-game sample and stuff, it's really hard to evaluate. The defensive stuff I think does matter. But I do think that the projections do a decent enough job at that. I think just like figuring out the depth chart overall, where the ball is going to be going, like what injury matters. I think like in the in-season, like knowing offensive lines, knowing defensive players, like missing time. I think that's when like the whole team trend, like it has completely changed. And that means game script can change, all that type of stuff. So that's what I'm curious about in season. But I do think that the player takes matters a whole lot more in the off season than it does like when you're trying to figure out your week 6 lineup.
Yeah, nice isolated example associated with that is look no further than Teron Armstead last year with the Miami run game, right? Like just and the ability to get the ball out quickly when facing pressure, like how vital he was to that offensive line. And now what's that patchwork going to look like this year without him, kind of deal. Couple things on the docket for us, Hayden, before we jump into BBM. Really excited to draft with you just in general, but given some of your targets that you were into, I was like, maybe this will just look like one of my teams here, where we take CeeDee Lamb, we try and get HN, and then we just jam as much Anthony Richardson on the asymmetrical bet as possible. But yeah, excited for that. But everyone kind of right now, I saw a tweet from you last night, is talking about this happy Keenan Allen day, being reunited with the Chargers there. Macro takeaways for you on that situation, ranking amendments for you, initial knee-jerk reaction.
I put him by Christian Kirk in like the 120s ish range. We're talking about two mostly slot wide receivers who have been productive, who are coming off injury, who have some competition already in place there. But yeah, I think that's kind of appropriate. I'm not completely writing off Keenan Allen because he had a dip in last year in a terrible offense. The previous seasons with Justin Herbert, he was like what, a top 12 fantasy wide receiver. So I think we can kind of split the
Right.
gap here. One thing I just like quickly did is I looked at all of the wide receivers since 1980. Who are the most productive wide receivers in their age 30, 31, 32 seasons? Like these guys are still have some juice left. When I look at it per game, Keenan Allen is the wide receiver 17 since 1980 in those 3 seasons. Like very, very productive player. There's players like Larry Fitzgerald, Jerry Rice, all those type of guys. So I took like the top 35, just all the players that are kind of by Keenan Allen. And I looked at what did they do in the age 33 season. And obviously, it's a huge band. Like you can go down from like 4 points, like Julio Jones is completely out of the league. Jerry Rice averaged like 20 points per game. The median was like 10 and a half PPR points per game. That would be like wide receiver 3-ish numbers. So I'm not going to rank him like that just because there was a decline from last year from the previous seasons. But I also do not think that we should completely write off the Keenan Allen upside play. I think that he's obviously trusted from Justin Herbert and the staff. I haven't heard that much buzz about Trey Harris. The long names guy on day 3 is like pushing Quentin Johnson because Quentin Johnson's not very good at football. So I think the easy assumption for me is he's going to be out there in 2 wide receiver sets. They're going to kind of interchange Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen. And I think there's not that much target competition at tight end either. So I'm going to be drafting Keenan Allen, and I'm guessing that nobody else is going to want to, but there's plenty of players, Julian Edelman's, Larry Fitzgerald's, Adam Thielen and stuff that end up being like a wide receiver 3 for a chunk of the season. And I think at these price tags, I got to be all in.
Yeah, I mean, Nez will join you on that train. He was pounding the table for taking Keenan Allen early and often. So we got a decent amount between the two of us. I'm a little lower on the 10%. I was old enough to remember getting burned by Will Fuller and Leonard Fournette as the free agent kind of like lingering guys. But man, I'm looking at this chart here. That Adam Thielen underappreciated season, just under talked about season just in general there with that name up there. But yeah, no, very, very cool here, dude. I love this kind of analysis associated with it. Hall of Famer Steve Largent. There you go.
It's a bunch of Hall of
Cool.
Famers on that list. Like the guys that ball
Right.
out between age 30 and age 32, they can kind of just play for a long time because they're so smart. I think that's going to be like the big thing with Keenan. Like he just walks into Justin Herbert and they have like the same chemistry that they've always had. Now Keenan like dropped way too many passes last year. I think that his effort, understanding of the offense, or just maybe the Bears not understanding their own offense, all made it where he was completely like very hard to watch. But 2 years ago with Justin Herbert, 2.36 yards per route run. So if we middle ground this thing, it's a win. If he does
Yeah.
what he did last year, 1.4 yards per route run in this offense, I still think that it would still be wide receiver 5-ish numbers.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Nice. Yeah. Is this too far for the Lad slide? That 2-3 turn there, like that. I know you were bullish on Lad in terms of all the route running ability and how he kind of gets like misclassified as the player that he is. Yeah, you've been very bullish on Lad. So how far is too far for the Lad stuff?
I think I moved Lad down like 1 or 2 spots, but like
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor goes ahead of him now in my rankings. Like maybe it was like Ashton Genty and I think maybe T Higgins. And that's like nothing against Lad. So I think you should move him down. There's more target competition. That is like, you can't, that's a bad thing for Lad. It's not a full blown panic. Ladd McConkey, whether he plays on the inside or outside, does not matter. He was so good and he can beat press man coverage at an elite rate. Against off coverage, just like completely swallows up space and spits it out on these outbreakers, can run by everybody. He has like the same exact like height, weight, speed as like Garrett Wilson and stuff. Nobody's curious about Garrett Wilson playing on the outside. Like we know that he's good at football. Same thing with like the Antonio Browns and stuff. Like he's a sensational football player. He's going to get the ball a ton. Does it matter? I think maybe a little bit. But the depth of round 2 is really strong. So moved down a couple spots. I think maybe in redraft leagues, he might be like a 3rd round pick in redraft leagues. Like windmill that in. Like you have to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I'm just so bullish on Justin Herbert this year. Like
Same.
I look at like 3 spots and I kind of overlaps with you, but the three spots, or I guess there's four for me, but there's four spots where I was just like, these could just, rising tide lifts all ships. And it's the Chargers, it's the Cowboys, it's Anthony Richardson, just, if it comes to fruition, and it's Tua being healthy for a condensed Miami tree. Those were like the four that I've kind of been like really like, as you said, windmilling it in on.
Yeah, I like all of those. I think those kind of represent the best ball seasons have come from pocket passers who just have that MVP season where their touchdown rate is unsustainable, but it's sustainable for one season. And when that does happen, unlike the dual threat quarterbacks who we obviously love, you're bringing along a second, third, fourth part of the stack. I remember that Tom Brady MVP season with Tampa Bay where Gronk and Antonio Brown, everybody was like decreased in their ADPs because there were some signs of weakness. And then all of a sudden is like, you literally could not beat that team. It was like the highest scoring team by a wide margin. I'll throw the Chiefs in there as well.
Okay, yeah.
Just full blown. Could you see these guys have 45 passing touchdowns this year? I think all the quarterbacks who you mentioned, the answer to that is yes. And that means not one, but a couple of their pass catchers come along for the ride.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, you've definitely been bullish on the Chiefs stuff. You included Mahomes in your list there previously. You did move Rashee Rice down to 51 there. I was noticing that this morning, but just in general, like maybe that's a good little segue. Chiefs here. Yeah, like the worthy stuff, the Pacheco like hype videos right now going around on a play in which he was actually touched in the backfield. Kind of hilarious there. But in terms of the context of BBM, like I don't build out my Mahomes stuff very frequently if I'm not the worthy drafter. Is that a mistake? Is there some backstack potential here? Like, can we do Royals in the last round and like take naked Mahomes? Because my holdup on Mahomes right now is I love the price point of Mahomes. I love the potential of them, potentially returning to that 40, 45 passing touchdown ceiling. But they might just take the air out of the ball and just be like, we can just win ball games and save it for the postseason yet again, kind of thing. And I don't love the backstack options. Am I wrong?
No, I think that the best stack that you can do would be Xavier Worthy, Mahomes, Kelsey. That would be kind of the one I would target. The reason why I think Xavier Worthy is the key is because he's going to be the one that's catching the 45-yard, 50-yard passes over the top. And that's how you actually go to the moon here. Rashee Rice will move the chains. And obviously you can stack all of those guys together and like really play for the playoffs. But I do think that Xavier Worthy is the guy where if he catches a 7th, 8th long touchdown, that's how Patrick Mahomes goes from like a low end quarterback one back to the top 4, top 5 conversation again. So I do think that he's the one that like makes the offense like go all the way back up to the top. Jalen Royals thinks is a bad click right now. Like Tyquan Thornton is like in the mix to potentially be that sacrificial X wide receiver on the outside. They haven't like loved the Hollywood Brown stuff. So I think I would just go with Kelsey. Not expecting like a huge season from him, but it's just some correlation purposes. And I really do think that like Xavier Worthy and Mahomes could be like a huge part of like best ball success. Like it would not surprise me if Mahomes won the MVP. Xavier Worthy caught 12 touchdowns this year. And then when Rashee Rice returns, he's like back like as a fringe wide receiver one.
Cool. Yeah, I like it. I can definitely see the path. Because we're talking about Kelsey and Mahomes, I wanted to talk kind of like one more macro conversation with you. When you posted your most recent rankings, you do so with one of these Viz charts in terms of where your deltas of ADP, your deltas of ranking differentiate from ADP here. And one big thing I noticed is kind of this pocket in terms of tight end and quarterback where you are kind of like this 110 through 144. You're just kind of eating the tight ends in this range. You're eating the quarterbacks a little bit, but not quite as much so as that. And then you're kind of tailing off at the skill positions there. Just kind of macro thoughts for you from like, if I'm trying to apply this to my BBM drafts right there based on your rankings, is this the pocket you would just always take 2 tight ends in? Is this, a macro thesis, or am I diving too deep into it?
Well, I think like the big thing is the wide receiver talent in that range really falls off. And I also think that that's the highest priced running backs for like contingent value. And there's really not that much of a difference between Ray Davis and Tyler Algier. Both of them need the starter to miss time. And Algier's priced a couple rounds afterwards. Same thing with Zach Charbonnet. Like Zach Charbonnet is not going to be fantasy relevant unless Kenneth Walker is out. Same thing with Tyler Algier. I would rather just like go down and find that type of running back. And the wide receiver talent just really falls off. Like we're pricing some of the rookie wide receivers who like have some theoretical upside there, but they're like the really suspect, like day 2 rookie wide receivers who like have not made that much buzz in camp so far. So I think a lot of it's kind of just like who else is going to win the flex or like help me get some flex points. I think it's actually the tight ends and projections right there. And there's a couple upside cases, a couple rookie tight ends. I think that Dalton Kincaid deserves a shout, just like still a year 3 guy. Tucker Kraft, rookie contract. He's pretty interesting to me. Jake Ferguson's part of a huge pass game as well. So it's just some good profiles kind of in that range.
Let's talk specifically about Kincaid because the Bills are getting a lot of attention. Like most places you look, projected to score the most points over the entirety of the season here. Yet it's really hard to pinpoint, where those funnel through outside of Josh Allen. We do this exercise and rope-a-dope every single week in the dailies, and basically what ends up happening is Josh Allen as a unstacked player running Josh Allen naked is what ends up winning, opposed to pinpointing his stacks. But you like Kincaid. Is that dovetailing off the fact that we got this Shakir high ankle injury? He's in a walking boot today. Or is that, just a stance in and of itself?
Yeah, well, actually, I kind of like came around to Dalton Kincaid before the Khalil Shakir injury, but obviously that is just another avenue for how this thing could kind of pop off. You're just looking at the contracts. So he's a first round pick. So there's the 5th-year team option. Teams have to decide on the 5th-year team option before the fourth season starts, which means that this is the year that they're going to be evaluating Dalton Kincaid if they want to keep him around for that 5th year. So there's a lot of pressure for Kincaid and the Bills to figure this thing out. At the same time, Dawson Knox has no guaranteed money in his contract after the season expires. The Buffalo Bills did not make it to the Super Bowl because they could not find somebody that can make like a 3rd and 8 catch. I think that they need to figure out if their first round guy could actually do that or not. So yeah, I just think all that stuff, year 3 tight ends, that's been like a historical win in general. He's put on a little bit of weight, which is one of the biggest reasons why he has not been out there in 11 personnel, which you really need to, especially for red zone touchdowns. But I do think there's a chance that the Buffalo Bills say like, Kincaid, we're putting you out there in 11 personnel, figure it the fuck out, or you're not getting the 5th-year option this year. And if that is the case, then he's going to be somebody that's going to be in the mix for tight end 1 production.
Yeah, I love that, man. Some good macro points there. He's a guy that I was really low on in my portfolio because I was gravitating to the Lovelands and Warrens in that kind of like same pocket there. I was really pushing like ceiling potential of that, but I kind of maybe did it myself a disservice by just throwing cold water on Dalton Kincaid just because we've happened to seen it once or twice before. I mean, it could be a asymmetrical bet in terms of the Kyle Pitts going right conversation kind of thing, right? Like that.
I think you can apply Kyle Pitts to like a lot of the same conversation I just had right there.
Sure, yeah.
But there's just more proven real target competition in that offense than what we have with the Bills, and the Bills are just a better offense in general than the Falcons.
Yeah, good point there. I got to ask you this question because I asked it. Pete and I were discussing it yesterday, so I'm genuinely curious. We were talking about moving up the Coleman pick a little bit. Palmer getting like an ever so slight boost, but like not like a huge target for us. Is there anyone else kind of at the back end here that could be like a tack on 18th round stack with Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore?
No, I think like you see this in the dailies, especially because there's only 6 rounds. And I think that you've mentioned it. Teams are probably overstacking the like dual threat quarterbacks and like make that last round pick is fucking Rashad Bateman, when instead of Rashad Bateman, you can just draft the guy that's projected for 5 more points or a running back. And not only are you getting a projection boost, you're probably also getting a uniqueness boost because like everyone is like stacking these guys. So like to me, instead of going with Elijah Moore, Ty Johnson, Curtis Samuel, just take like the falling, like, or a Theo Johnson or Anthony Richardson, you name it. And I think that's just like a better team in general. Josh Allen does not need one of these guys to be fantasy relevant. And I think I would rather just go with a better round 18 pick. And you're getting a little bit of a uniqueness angle at that point. So I think it's like Josh Palmer, Keon, or Dalton Kincaid. One of them has to be fantasy relevant this year. And I'm going to go with the guy that has the most upside, which I still think would be Dalton Kincaid.
Cool. Yeah. Well put, man. It's something I'm really warming up to this season in general. Is like I was obsessed with always making my lineups make sense. where it's like, oh, I got a Dak falling ADP, but it's like, man, if I miss on Ferg or I miss on Jalen Blue, now what am I just jamming Tolbert or Turpin with the last pick there? Maybe I don't have to. Maybe I can just run him naked and go with a 3 quarterback build that has another skinny stack. Yeah, more of the you still got to get there, bro mindset, but in the best ball setting.
Yeah, there's a lot of quarterbacks that finished really high up, and the production was kind of split out everywhere. And in those scenarios, and especially in the dailies where everyone you're picking is awesome picks, I just feel like I would go with like the second running back instead of like the garbage wide receiver 3.
Yeah, well said. One other situation that's been top of mind this week is the Houston backfield. Also, a little bit more news today that Chubb wasn't practicing, and it was Dameon Pierce, who's been around for forever there. But notable that, in years past, people told us that he was a bad fit schematically for the run scheme in years prior. Now is something changing this year that makes him more desirable there. Who knows? But yeah, just thoughts on, Woody Marks and Pierce, or if you think a veteran's going to come in here. People are talking about Singletary, but now it looks like Singletary will stick on the Giants roster with the Scatabo injury stuff. Yep. Never say never, but yeah, just macro thoughts on, is there someone worth getting to here? Because these guys are all rising.
Yeah, I think once like Woody Marks becomes like 100% drafted, it's time to say no thank you. Maybe it's Dameon Pierce. I don't know, man. There's better running back clicks to me. I think the one I would just draft would be Joe Mixon. Like, this game's about upside last time I checked. So yeah, I think it's just like one of these, I think running back's position where like we like pretend like the upside still doesn't exist. Like, yeah, is there risk? Sure. But it's best ball. Like, we're trying to come in first out of hundreds of thousands of drafters. If Joe Mixon is healthy in week 1, he should be a 4th or 5th round selection. So yeah, his ADP is going to continue to slide, as it should, but I'm willing to just kind of roll the dice on him. Nick Chubb, I think, is like pretty much completely cooked. The reports have been bad. Woody Marks, Dameon Pierce, I think like both of these guys are like committee members. And we also just the Joe Mixon injury is mysterious, but it's not like for sure severe. He hasn't had surgery, it's like the off-season stuff. He missed training camp last year, and then in week 1 had like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns or something crazy. So yeah, there's tons of risk with Joe Mixon, but isn't the point of best ball to take on some risk for some asymmetrical upside? I think so.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Although I was kind of like one of the scared little boys who wouldn't click his name right now, and I was kind of vaulting up the Pollard and Aaron Jones and stuff over him. What's the tipping point in terms of BBM right now to catch a falling Joe Mixon?
I have him like running back 29. I think Pollard, Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson, like Isaiah Pacheco, all these guys could easily be like having like the RB20 season, and in the right weeks you hit it correctly. So sure, those guys are a little bit safer than Joe Mixon. I think once you get into like the Jalen Warrens and Tyrone Tracy's in that range, it's like, you really think like the upside case for those guys is better than Joe Mixon's? Like, how positive are you? And by the time we're getting to this, especially in redraft, you're drafting for your bench. So I think in like redraft, like I would be like, hey, like should he be the first guy on my bench? Absolutely, he should be the first guy on my bench. So I think we're reaching the point where it's hard to find like real upside plays in that range, and especially in like the BBM that's been open. Like, your Joe Mixon team in round 8, round 9 looks a whole lot better than the Joe Mixon teams that existed in round 4 and round 5. So there's a little bit of like just kind of leverage off of that anyways.
Yeah, fully agree with you there. Guys, do me a favor, hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, all that fun stuff. I know you guys are rolling through to see Hayden, but much love and appreciation that you guys turn out every single day. I know Pete's live right now. I know Davis has the marathon stream right now. I know Coach Speak Index is going live in 30 minutes time, and you guys 200 and some odd choosing to hang out here means the world to us. So yeah, and if you guys are catching this after the fact, drop a comment in there, all that good stuff, please and thank you, because this is the money-making portion of the program here, Hayden. Before we jump in a BBM, the people want you to play the exercise in which it is to be a badge bowl, the true scroll the F down here. We need to get some of the hidden gems out of you that we should be drafting at these back end of draft boards. I did note that in your most recent set of rankings that you were a JCM boy in some capacity there. Had him up at 191. But yeah, let's talk about some potential scrolls, some overlooked. I mean, we don't need to go as far as 240 or something like that,
Mhm.
but just some of these back end guys who could potentially pan out for us.
So I think like one example, Taj Brooks is somebody that he was just
Mhm.
undrafted for so long. I know he's not like a scroll the F down guy now, but he's just a good example of somebody that was largely undrafted in Best Ball Mania, that it's hard for his price tag to go up to a point where it's still not worth the upside case now that we have a more solidified picture for him. So I think he's just like somebody that I always kind of point to, like once we have news for August and 65% or whatever Best Ball Mania is filled, like that means a lot of those teams did not have Taj Brooks on them. So like I would continue to chase him up the board, especially in Best Ball Mania that's been open for a while. Let's see. I think that the Giants guys, I think like Theo Johnson, I don't know where if
Nice.
he's not drafted all the time, but I do like the tight end threes. So he would be an option. Let's see who else. Oh, like Torrey Horton is getting some buzz.
Yeah.
That might be doing too much, but I think that he's getting some buzz. Let's see. I still think that Jarquez Hunter is interesting. He's not all the way scrolled down, but those are some like the round 18 guys that I would be mixing in. Same thing with Russell Wilson.
Okay, Russell Wilson, that's a good one. Yeah, I tacked him on. I wasn't a huge dart guy early on. Like I was doing a little bit more of like the shuck stuff as like a third quarterback, cheap stack. So I do like the idea of getting some Russell Wilson in my portfolio, especially given how cheap the Giants are at the back end there. The Taj Brooks stuff, as you alluded to, like getting more solidified with the Zach Moss situation there, like that's pretty bullish there. If they're just going to go into the season with P. Ryan as a pass catching back, and then Chase Brown, who's looks every bit of like this little 3-man group that hangs out on the sideline over and over again. When you look in, tap into the beat reporters, and it's just like Chase, Higgins, and Chase standing in a circle all together on the side. Like that's so bullish just in terms for his workload that he's just like resting like that. Yeah, I love the shout of Horton. I haven't got Horton at all yet. So that's a pretty easy backstack with Darnold as like QB 28 as well there.
Oh, I got one more. This is
yeah,
actually probably my
please.
favorite one. Trey Tucker,
Okay.
Las Vegas Raiders. Everyone's steaming up Thornton. Trey Tucker is like a very similar player who's already been in the NFL. There was some positive buzz with him. You're not going to see that because he's not a rookie anymore. I went back and watched Trey Tucker. The dude is so incredibly fast. And the last quarterbacks, like the Minshew's and Aiden O'Connell and stuff, they just are not the aggressive passers that Geno Smith has. So this is purely in Best Ball Mania or Best Ball styled contest, only with Geno Smith. But I do think that Trey Tucker is somebody that's going to be out there, I think, in 2 wide receiver sets. And would I be surprised if he caught 3 50-yard touchdowns this year, did nothing else the rest of the season, but you used those 3 weeks? I would not be surprised by that at all.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, they used him in creative ways last year too. Like they got him like some schemed red zone touches working off of Brock Bowers, where they use Brock Bowers as like the primary read, and then they get that motion man to cut underneath. I remember he had a 2-touchdown game last year, did he not? I think he broke a primetime Palooza slate. Maybe it was the year before.
That makes sense. Yeah, he's just so fast. He does catch a couple of those passes, but I really just think watching Geno Smith, like Geno Smith is an aggressive decision maker and has a perfect arching deep ball. Yeah, I think that connection is just going to look a little bit better this year.
Let's have a macro Vegas conversation just for a second, because I had this spicy meatball take a couple times here that we might just be making the same mistake as we made with the Jets offense last year and doing it through the lens of the Raiders this year. Just like, tough football division, propped up ADPs that aren't backed by implied team totals. And we're kind of doing more wish casting. We know Chip Kelly will play fast. We know that there was a good high pass rate over expectation in the last couple of years between Geno and Pete Carroll there. But is there a possible range of outcomes where we're just like way out over our skis with Vegas having like 2 pieces in the top 20 of every single fantasy draft this year?
So I think I'm optimistic with the Raiders offense because I'm a Chip Kelly guy, Pete Carroll guy, and more importantly, a Geno Smith guy, and a Jacoby Myers guy. I'll throw that in there as well.
Yeah.
My rankings are most nervous about Ashton Genty because he either has to like score the same amount of touchdowns and stuff as like Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor, which is like no easy task, or he's got to catch a lot more passes than those guys, which I think he's capable of doing. And I do rank Genty ahead of those two running backs that I talked about. But it's like hard to have like the Derrick Henry season, and that's like where he's going in drafts. So I'm lowest on Ashton Genty. I definitely get some Brock Bowers in there, and Jacoby Myers is somebody I'm well ahead of. So yeah, to me, it would be like Bowers, Myers, Geno, Trey Tucker. Like I would be interested in that. I maybe have not drafted Ashton Genty. If I have, like maybe like on an auto draft or just once or twice and stuff. I just think that he's priced at the wrong term. He's not going to be a flat out bust, but it's a really strong second round right now, and he has at least more risk than some of the other guys.
Yeah, I've been kind of in the same camp as you. Like I've been doing the Achane over him, and maybe that's like a blind spot in my game to not be mixing and matching. But I've been doing the wow, this target tree could be so condensed, and I've seen the volume angle of Achane, and then I've seen the hyper efficiency angle. Let's just put those two things together this year. But that might be doing Genty's talent level a disservice because they might have a really good offensive line, and he ran for over 7 yards a carry and didn't have a game with less than 100 yards last year. So, I mean, yeah, maybe I'm discrediting that a little bit, but then I also come back with it was Boise State. But
he also did touch the ball 397 times and then had to do like all the pre-draft stuff too. So like, obviously, and I've mentioned it too, the Saquon Barkley touched the ball a lot. Like just because it was in college does not mean that he wasn't getting hit. Like he touched the ball 397 times in 14 games, then had to go do all the pre-draft process. So there is something called the rookie wall, and we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, if we're discounting Saquon for the 420 touches across, postseason, and what was it, 420 total across the postseason?
I believe that's 490. It was like
40,
480 or something. It was ridiculous.
Okay, so it was 420 regular season, 480 with postseason included, or something like that. That's wild.
That's insane.
Okay, last one that I just thought of because we got to hop in a draft here quickly, but the last one I just thought of was the Travis Hunter conversation that everybody is having, and I've had this spicy take associated with him. Though I recognize the upside in this situation, I recognize that he was the best wide receiver in football last year. I recognize the Heisman, all this sort of stuff. He might be truly a unicorn, a one of one. But the comp that I've been making, because so many people made the Shohei Ohtani comp, my Shohei Ohtani comp is not from the unicorn angle. It's that he's exposing himself, like whether it's 60% of snaps, 70% of snaps, 80% of snaps, more frequent to getting hurt than any other player on offensive on any team, kind of thing, especially those juxtaposed to the ones he's going around in drafts. Is there credence to that, or does the upside relative to the ADP make it such a good bet that doesn't even matter to you?
It obviously does matter that he's playing on defense. You get 0 fantasy points and you expose yourself to injury. So like that, like we would draft Travis Hunter higher if he was 100% offensive player and 0% on defense. So that point is very true. Javonte Adams talked about that. He's like, dude, why are you even doing this to yourself? Like the goal is to play longer in the NFL. Like you get paid per year, not per snap. So why are you doing this to yourself? And I totally get that. I think my baseline assumption for Travis Hunter to be like 33% of snaps on defense and then 80% of the offensive snaps. That gets you above the 100% like total volume between the two sides of it, so that you get a little bit of fun there. They're probably not going to have him on against the run. There's 2 good corners out there already, so they'll probably pick their spots out there. I think it'll also be a little bit game plan dependent, depth chart dependent based off the other injuries and stuff. I think that 80% snaps for Travis Hunter is enough to be worth the 4 or 5 round picks. There are also like guys like Kenneth Walker and Alvin Kamara that are also great picks. Jalen Waddle, George Pickens. So I don't think he's a tier above any of those guys. Like this is, I think, appropriate with him, but the injury risk is like substantial. He's very tiny. He also played a bajillion snaps. So if we're going to do the Saquon and the Ashton Genty thing, right, Travis Hunter's coming off of a quadrillion snaps as well. So yeah, very risky. Boom bust.
Quadrillion. Quadrillion's my new word there. Hayden, we got almost 900 of us hanging out and watching here. So I got to give a longtime member of the program here and friend of the show, Blake, some love because he's actually never had a good take before. And he actually just came with an absolute fastball today that NFL touches are built a little bit different than the punishing Mountain West touches there. So it'll give you a little context to our previous
conversation. He was also in the end zone for what, 10% of those? So he only can hit on those, you know?
Yeah. It's true. Hayden, I didn't even ask you what you wanted to draft today because I thought it would just be awesome to hop in BBM because what happened here? Platform. Let's see here. Oh, we'll be good in 1 second here. Just to do BBM together because it's a little bit of a running tradition. We've done BBM together. I guess this will be 3rd or 4th year in a row there. And I want to give you what's going on with the platform. Let me give it a second here. There we go. 2 more spots. I want to give you exposure to the potential of winning multiple millions of dollars here.
I can't.
Can't accept it.
Lawyers
cannot accept it.
Can't accept it. But yeah, I'll root for you to ship it, and it'd be pretty hilarious if we did pick a team.
Absolutely, bro. Dude, I got to ask you kind of a macro question that we've had conversations about behind closed doors before, and we've had conversations on stream about it before, but not in recent memory. We're using the solver here. We are big proponents of growth of the game associated with some of these tools and whatnot. We both use the sidekick on the stream. We use the solver on the stream. I think they're great additions and natural growth of the games. Just thoughts and feelings about some of these new tools that get added and how maybe you would utilize them.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, I think, part of the growth. I stand with Underdog's stance about it. You have to click the picks yourself. And if you're clicking the picks yourself, you're using your brain. I've heard them talk about this like on like All In about AI and stuff, where like these models are training on public data, and then just how we would be learning from stuff. Like, should people not be allowed to watch our stream and learn from this? I think that there's similar discussions with all that stuff. I want people to click the damn picks. That's where I stand.
Should we click the damn pick of our favorite first round pick, CeeDee Lamb?
Yep, I like it.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I'm in lockstep with you there. I think these are great value adds to simplify problems that we have already thought about and solved on our own accord. Like, we can see the draft capital buckets. It's just a visualization of a previous concept in which we have learned and or thought about. We have learned about, week 15, 16, 17 schedules. Now I can visualize it in real time instead of just having this chart beside me, which is actually my screensaver or wallpaper on one of the sides over here. Like, instead of having that as my wallpaper, it's now embedded in the thing in which I'm using. So I think it's just natural progression and a nice additive to the games in general.
Yeah, when we talk about this, like all the strategy and stuff, like, are we going to ban that? Like, I don't know. This is just how games typically evolve. So yeah, I do just like the ability to, everyone has to click the picks, and we'll see how good the solver and everything is. Like, there can be some things where there's maybe doing too many similar builds, and there's some leverage off of it. We also don't know exactly how many people are using this stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think that we need more different styled contests for the platform to grow. We need more people in there to grow. We need more of the DFS users who have not done best ball to grow prize pools. And if they're going to enter more drafts because of that, that's good for everybody. So yeah, this is a very, very young industry, and this is kind of what happens.
Yeah, all growth is good growth in my estimation right now. Put out a little thread there on Twitter that got some run yesterday with just asking people like, hey, why wouldn't you play on Underdog? What is the drawing factor to other platforms? It got some really good, genuine discourse and feedback in terms of like, what people go to other sites for other than the obvious of like chasing overlay and finding softer competition, yada, yada. Just, what draws people to specific platforms? Because for my money, this is the best place on the internet to play right now, but I don't want to stagnate in the growth of industry by saying, be Underdog exclusive as much as I want you to play only on Underdog. I want feedback as to how we can make this collectively better.
Yeah, we listen to people. We are in the lab designing things to improve everything about this. And yeah, we're a startup, so we're gonna have new things come out over time, and we plan on being the best in the industry currently and in the future with this stuff.
I love it. We got T. Higgins here, who I know you like. We also have this sweet little pocket of running back with a JT, little bit of a JT fall here if we want it. Which do you prefer, Aiden?
Um, it'd be JT Jacobs or T Higgins for me.
JT Jacobs, or let's do the JT thing. I think
Yeah.
this little Lamb JT start, it's not like super rare, but I think it is one of my favorite from the left side of the board. I've been really liking how my rosters turn out when I actually start wide receiver first on the left side of the board, opposed to running back. And the inverse is true on the right hand side. I like to do like Achan plus a receiver, or McCaffrey plus a receiver on the other side. I really think we're going to love this 27 pick that comes back to us, regardless of who it is. And the ability to open that up is taking Chase or Lamb first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So there's more running backs I like at that turn than wide receivers, like you mentioned there. I think this is part where we can put our uniqueness brain on if we want to go with one of the elite quarterbacks who are typically drafted on the right side of the board. That's something that I would be doing here. So I think it's like the best projection play, but also these quarterbacks aren't going to be drafted the same. So
you like Allen or Lamar this year?
I like Lamar, but I'm fine with either.
I missed it by a half second.
They're like
All
back to back in my rankings. So
okay.
But yeah, I like the draft board, like dragging somebody from the other side when the projections have kind of fallen apart. Like I would rather have T. Higgins and Josh Allen, but now that T. Higgins was out of there, Josh Jacobs was out of there. Now it's okay. Let's still like the projection of Lamar and Josh Allen, but typically those are on the other side of the board. And those are paired with Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas teams, not as much with CeeDee Lamb and Jonathan Taylor teams.
Yeah, well said. We're starting to see it come to fruition, because it was something that we as talking heads in this industry drafting these games saw a lot early on, was that like, oh, as soon as the recreational players get into these lobbies, they're going to see how mispriced the elite QB1s are, and they're going to start dragging them to the other
That's
side.
what I call them. Yeah, the sharps that come in here
Sharps.
at the last minute and just be like, what the hell were you guys doing? Oh, you guys were galaxy braining everything? Well, you guys weren't going outside in the summer. I'm going to come in here with a tan and go back to the basics and know what half PPR scoring is.
Oh, I love it, dude. Or in my case, come in with a burn here.
Yeah, I see that.
Most recently.
There you go.
I'm a no hat golfer, and it did not play out in my favor this weekend. I'm not gonna lie. Let's talk about Davante Adams, because that was a huge follower in our room here. He falls all the way to 39 here, an abnormal spot to get Davante Adams, but it stems from these potential back issues. I thought Josh's take was really good, just in terms of we could look back and it could be so polarizing that, hey, why are we drafting this 37-year-old dude with a history of back issues who has a back history or back issue? Or, you know, why weren't we taking him? They're clearly just, saving him for the regular season. He's a vet here. So where are you landing right now with these Rams pick and Adams in particular there?
So it's like a bulging disc. They got the epidural. You only do that if you're in a lot of pain. The problem with that's like very nerve damage related, which is extremely unpredictable here. So we've seen Phillip Rivers play through it and do fine. We've seen Peyton Manning have surgery and then the next year win a Super Bowl. And then
let me stop you real quick. Cook for a mini stack there. One of these wide receivers. I don't think we want to do double elite quarterback.
Yeah, I would do Cook.
Okay. Sounds good. Yes, carry on. Sorry.
Yes. So it's the wild, wild west with this exact injury. Once you talk about nerves and like disc, it's a true who knows situation. I do know this. His play really drops when he's not healthy, and there's not a lot of wiggle room at age 37 here. So I am pretty nervous about this. At the same time, Jimmy G is like a very capable backup quarterback, especially in this system. Like it's the same exact system that he had with Shanahan, where he's like literally I think the NFL's like yards per attempt leader all time. So I don't think that we should like go crazy with it. I put all the guys at the end of their own tiers. So like in my rankings, Davante Adams is like around 39th overall. Puka is now in the back half of round one, where I thought he could have been like the 4th overall player. So we should have some concern here, but Jimmy G plus McVay at least like stabilizes this a little bit.
Give my thoughts in a second. Metcalf, Walker, Waddle, or Hunter?
I would go Walker or Chuba would be my ones.
Let's do Walker. I'm trying to get more Walker
Yeah.
in my life, and he's
Love that.
really. This is kind of an abnormal room right now. We got some friends and family in here, but we also, it was very rare to see Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts come back to us, which was kind of unfortunate given our Josh Allen stan already there. Like if we could replace that and knowing that Jalen Hurts and or Jaden Daniels comes back to us there, that'd be pretty cool. But both Cook and Walker still being here in the 4-5 is a little bit rare because all these receivers ran off. Usually those guys are getting pushed up in this tier a little bit. So yeah, we still usurp some of that value. Sorry.
Yeah, I like that. I've seen like the teams at the front of the draft look a lot better. You got the elite quarterbacks, everyone priced up the wide receivers that historically have not been good clicks in that type of range. And we'll figure out the wide receiver stuff with the rest of our draft. But yeah, Kenneth Walker, James Cook, Jonathan Taylor, they just have like similar seasons as they had last year. And same thing with Josh Allen. Like, man, our team like per game last year would be the favorite to win our league.
Right. Yeah. Structurally speaking, Hayden, when we start like this with this kind of like anchor elite wide receiver, we got an elite quarterback and we already got 3 running back slots. Like, where does your mind go? Is this a 2 QB team? Is this a 5 running back team, a 4 running back team? Like, where does your mind go?
I put this into it's still too early to tell.
Okay.
I do go 4 running back teams. If like the right value falls, it's like, all right, perfect. We're done. Like Isaiah Pacheco falls 5 picks after ADP. Boom, done. Forget about it. If Dak Prescott is available, 2 quarterbacks, we're done. Forget about it. I don't make these decisions for a long time. And I'm very flexible with what's going to work. I'll take the ADP values, the guys that I like in rankings and kind of make it worth. You can have 4 running backs a lot earlier than people think in half PPR best ball. Just don't draft a 5th or a 6th.
Awesome. Well said. One of your targets there in Jacoby Myers goes. We're gonna have Diggs. We got the Addison suspension official now. I kind of like Diggs in this spot.
Love Diggs.
But,
perfect.
Okay, cool. Let's do it. Yeah, I'm getting far less skittish. I know there was like the training camp, what's he doing on the boat video, and there was all this speculation about a guy at his age. I mean, I say it in parentheses, but a little bit older for a wide receiver, free agent signing, coming back from that ACL stuff just 9 months later. Yeah, I was a little skittish about it, and now I'm kind of like slurping the dipperino, as the kids are saying these days.
Yeah, I think one of the big trends is just age curve stuff. Like 10 years ago, we couldn't even spell GPS. Now we got all this GPS tracking and stuff on these players. The health is these players, they're just going to age so much more gracefully than we've seen. They're coming back from injuries, just going to get better and better as time progresses. So like, I think age 34, age 35 is going to be the new like age 32. So yeah, Diggs was out there ready to go.
That's what I'm personally banking on for a comeback here. So yeah.
Dude, if we get Matthew Golden here, damn it.
Damn, Golden would have been it. We could do running back and shut it down. We could pull up downs. What do you like?
I think Addison or Downs probably makes the most sense for us here. Man, I wish I got a little bit more positive news from Caleb Johnson, and then I would be calling that a day right there. But it's been a little bit more suspect than I'd like.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting about Caleb Johnson is like you have this like quote unquote run centric OC who I think it was cumulative touches between Warren and Najee last year was like RB7. You want to get excited about it, but they played so effing slow last year. Maybe that's a byproduct of the quarterback play. But now you turn to Rodgers and you go, oh yeah, Rodgers, all he does is bleed clock, play slow. Like they could just be so effing boring and just trying to scrape out 9 wins in every capacity that no one gets home on that team. Or, we only want like Metcalf unstacked or something.
Yeah, I think that's the baseline assumption. It just comes down to how good is the offense? Will Caleb Johnson fall into the end zone enough? I think that's kind of what it is. I don't think that Russ is much worse than what Aaron Rodgers is. I would say like that was kind of just like the same level of quarterback play, just stylistically a whole lot different. DK Metcalf, George Pickens, I think that's like horizontally like a lateral move as well. The offensive line is really young and they're moving these guys around. So that could be like the true unlock is like now all of a sudden the offensive line looks a lot better. I think Caleb Johnson is probably better than Najee Harris is.
Okay.
Just more uncertainty there as well. So yeah, if he
Every
falls a little bit, I'll be a lot more interested.
everyone talked about him as like, oh, perfect schematic fit. Is that true?
Yes, definitely true.
Oh,
He,
okay.
yeah, Arthur Smith, it was like pitches, stretches, and then outside zone were like kind of the bread and butter for that offense for a long time. And that's exactly what Caleb Johnson did at Iowa State. He's got more long speed than like initial burst, and that's kind of what you want for the outside zone. You're kind of just figuring out where you're going to cut back, and then all of a sudden you have a little bit more space to work with. So the offensive line
Sounds
and Aaron Rodgers' health is going to tell the story there.
sounds a little Ken Walker e.
He wishes he had the Ken Walker lateral ability,
Okay,
but
sure.
the same kind of style.
Okay. Khalil Shakir's here because of the injury. He goes there. We could do the Pittman bet alongside Jonathan Taylor. I don't know your thoughts on Cooper Kupp. We could address the tight end with Hawkinson or Kelsey.
I would go with one of the receivers. Either one's fine with me.
All right, let's do Pittman. I'm slowly warming up to Pittman. Back on the practice field yesterday in general. I don't think the bet on Downs is as sharp as being this much further ahead of Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. I really like what Josh Downs is doing on film, but Michael Pittman's got like such an easy button in that offense as well. So I think the target shares I think will be fairly similar. I think I'd rather have Downs than Pittman, but yeah, both of these guys are like kind of maxing out as like wide receiver threes, most likely with that offense. But we can use a wide receiver 3 with our build. That's for sure.
Yes, we definitely could after spending so much capital early on non wide receiver, but it is coming together quite nicely. Rashid Shaheed goes there, which is kind of unfortunate. I know that's a target of yours. Dak Prescott went 20 picks ahead of ADP, so there goes our stacking partner with CD. So we're gonna have to get creative with something else in the future. Although you and I both like a certain someone, I think Cooper Kupp comes back to us if we want. Keon Coleman goes for the stack. I don't know your thoughts on Brandon Ayuk. Where are you at?
I would go Kelsey or Cooper Kupp. What is the Bills by week 7? Yeah, Kelsey or
7.
Cooper Kupp would be my answers.
Let's go Cooper Kupp.
Got a little correlation there.
Oh yeah, nice shout. A little bit of Ken Walker correlation there as well. Yeah, playoff matchup wise for Seattle gets Indy in 15, so a little bit there, but nothing else too noteworthy there. The reason I did that was I think we're gonna like this little pocket of tight end that finds its way back to us just based on your chart that we were looking at previously. Reminder, I put it in the chat for everybody there. That's Hayden's latest rankings there. They are half point PPR. This chart is updated as of yesterday alongside his rankings there. So just noting that like this ADP 108 through 135 is a little spike in your rankings at the tight end. Allows us to kind of, I know you like Kelsey in a vacuum, but like allows us to potentially nah wave that, catch a falling Cooper Kupp when we're a little bit behind at wide receiver. Now we've kind of caught up. And then mix one in.
Yeah, I think that what we have is that our 5th wide receiver. Yeah, 5 wide receivers through round 9, round 10 is like totally fine. Do we have a ton of upside with these guys? Not necessarily, but we can take a couple of chances later on, win this thing with like team stacks, and hopefully have our quarterbacks drag up maybe a receiver. So we got to figure out a back stack that we're going to target here. Maybe it's like a Sam Darnold with Cooper Kupp, something like that. Yeah, there's we got a couple options. So we're in good shape.
Yeah, Drake May might find his way back to us with Diggs here. We could also do JJ McCarthy with Addison, kind of like a later season bet there, knowing that Addison will miss the first 3 games there. Kind of goes nicely in tandem with JJ McCarthy potentially figuring it out as well. So far, 1-3-5-0. We got Josh Allen, we got Jonathan Taylor, we got James Cook, we got Ken Walker, really strong onesie and RB room to start. And then we got CeeDee Lamb anchoring down Diggs, Addison, Pittman, and Cooper Kupp. Not the sexiest room in the world, but definitely some professional ass wide receivers with some production.
Yeah, we need to win the flex, and Josh Allen finished the quarterback 1. That's how this team goes. And CeeDee Lamb being the wide receiver 1 overall. I think all that's possible.
Cool. Dalton Kincaid's going to be here for us if we want it. The Cam Scata boys can mount up together. Kraft, JJ McCarthy with a stack. The slot demon. Who do you like?
I would do Kraft unless we don't feel comfortable that Kincaid's going to get back to us, but I feel like he will.
Let's do Kraft.
Yeah, let's do Kraft.
Yeah.
I like going with the tight end earlier right here, because if we do get Kincaid on the turn here, that's enough investment to the tight end position where if we want to stop at 2, we could. We can also still draft a third. But yeah, and I think that if we drafted a running back there, I probably would still want a 5th running back. So it's like not guaranteeing like an opening for like a roster spot for the other position. So that's kind of my thought process there.
Yeah, cool. I respect it. That's actually a really good macro conversation that I've been meaning to ask you and haven't had the opportunity yet. Just with like some of your research suggesting 3s at the onesies and stuff. But let's talk about that in a half second after we make this next pick.
So I think this is like the big, is it Dalton Kincaid here, or do we not do it? What is his overall ADP? Is like 130 something?
Yeah, it's 133. I'd be an advocate of taking him here. We've already made the bet on the elite quarterback. We've also already got James Cook associated with it. Let's just put the 2 tight ends on that pocket together, and now we have the ability to shut down if we want to.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah. And also with the Seattle back stack with the Seattle stack that we currently have and the Colts stack that we currently have, there's 2 quarterbacks that we can just tack on with that. I mean, we don't have to take both, but we could take one or the other. Let's have the conversation about 3s at the onesies, because you've done a lot of research with the bucketing and this sort of thing. And basically 3 quarterbacks has played well almost every damn year here. And it was kind of a leak in everybody's game. And now let's say the pendulum has swung so far the other way that a lot of people are now doing 3-6-6-3 and kind of spending 6 at the onesie ad nauseum. Are we over adjusting? Are we under adjusting? Is this good reaction to your research or not?
I think it is good reaction. I do like the 3rd quarterback in general. They just add points to your roster versus the other positions once you get really late into drafts. And I would say that's especially true when Best Ball Mania opens, where think about all the rookies that people were mixing in who now people are not mixing in, or the veterans that are just not going to be a part of the picture. So yeah, I think players like Aaron Rodgers, Russ, Anthony Richardson, I think that type of tier, Sam Darnold, I think those guys are just better clicks than the guys around them. You're adding the correlation to the rest of your roster as well. And then there's like the kind of ping pong effect in best ball tournaments where, like, if we have Josh Allen, he's awesome in the regular season, awesome in week 15. Our second quarterback like finishes as the quarterback 1 in week 16. Now it's like a bunch of those 2 quarterbacks. Well, we have the potential missing ingredient that those other teams don't have in Best Ball Mania finals as well. So I think that's like the least important part of it, but that is also a true statement. But I just think in general, the quarterbacks add more fantasy points to best ball rosters than the other positions.
Yeah, well said. Couldn't agree more. We got a really fun fall here with 2 stacking partners. If we want to do McCarthy and or Love, or we could. Love more. All right, let's do it. Yeah, no overlapping buys. Also gives us the opportunity to shut down at 2 if we want, or we can just tack on a 3rd moon shooter for all those reasons you just outlined there. But that was a pretty fun. That was a pretty fun 10 through 12 for us, attacking that pocket of tight end that, your rankings really like.
Yeah, I like stacking quarterbacks and tight ends together because tight ends are so touchdown correlated because they score fewer yards and they catch fewer passes. So they're more reliant on touchdowns, and the quarterback's the one throwing them the touchdown. So you can like kind of have one-off wide receivers who kind of PPR scam into lineups without the touchdowns, where at tight end, there's a couple guys that can do that, but for the most part, it's who's scoring a touchdown that week. And now we have both of our tight ends stacked up. So whoever's scoring the touchdown that week is going to be our stack.
Love it, man. Yeah, I'm in a lockstep with you there. I love, stacking up my onesies for that correlation boost. I guess I got to ask you, I have not drafted a single Judkins share The solver likes it at this price point. Are you? I think there's a non-zero chance he ever plays football. But
for sure.
thoughts on Judkins? You know, this tier, Joshua Palmer stacks.
I think Judkins or Palmer, those would be the two for sures for me. So
Okay. I'm gonna
Judkins,
keep my moral high ground stance going here and not waive the Judkins one there. But I think it's an interesting conversation just in general here. Do you think Judkins has a path to mattering this year?
yes, I think it'd be back weighted production, and I think that the risk of him not playing much football this year at all also exists. I also think that maybe the most likely scenario is all of it is Judkins is out there in a committee late in the season on the worst offense in the league, and like it's for what? Like exactly.
Right.
So I think he might have made more sense on a team that we didn't feel great about our upside at running back. And you're just like, hey man, like we got to just see what happens here. Our running back room, if it stays healthy, which it needs to, and how we're kind of drafting for it, I don't think that we really need like another upside shot. Like I think that
Mhm.
a fourth running back with like some level of floor would make more sense to our team. And then we're behind at wide receiver because we skipped over that position for the last three rounds. So I think
Yeah.
that Palmer was probably the better click, but this would be the right range for Judkins to roll the dice on a different build.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll have the conversation again if he comes back to us, and then maybe that could change our mind. But I think the market is kind of appropriately adjusting right here. Like Tank Bigsby's up, Sampson's up, and Blue is up over him. Braylon Allen goes ahead of him in this draft as well with some bullish reporting. Are those all targets you'd prefer over Judkins right now?
Not all of them,
Okay.
but that's a good point that we're talking about guys that very well could not matter at all.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
that's where like there's all these guys have very little value at this point, which goes back to our discussion about why the quarterbacks do. Like I think most likely Geno Smith will be adding some points to your team. Same thing with Cam
Mhm.
Ward. I think Anthony Richardson will be adding some points. Are you sure that Jack Beck will or Quinton Judkins? I don't know. Tua will. I can almost guarantee you Tua will be adding points to your teams at some point. So I think that's the this is where adding that second and third quarterback I think does generally make sense.
Like it. Might have a little bit of a running back sweet spot here. I don't know if there's a tipping point for Najee for you if it fits this build. Austin Eckler adds some points there and some 17 correlation. Jerome Ford making the other side of the Cleveland bet. Jalen Wright, some ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this is a great spot for some running backs. Eckler makes sense to me, or Jalen Wright, I think would be my top two options.
Okay, let's do Eckler there.
Cool.
I mean, non-zero chance. This guy's got 5 running backs. Jack's got 5, and the Vault's only got 3. So maybe Wright doesn't make it back, but Wright as a ceiling shot with our last pick there, or last running back capital pick at 15 would be kind of fine by me too.
Yeah,
If it
Eckler's
comes
like
back.
one where I still think this could be a four running back team if we absolutely wanted to. I think most likely this should be a fifth one, but Eckler does like provide enough of a like 7-point
Mhm.
projection on a week to week basis. But I do like Jerome Ford here. Sam Darnold is interesting.
Like,
I think I would, yeah, I think I would go right would be my play here and shoot for the ceiling. We don't have any other Dolphins and things can kind of break his way.
yeah, I
What do you
like
think?
that too. No, I like that too. I would advocate for this team's really fortified by the first 3 running backs there. Austin Eckler is like a little bit of floor, not as much ceiling combo. You may as well shoot the moon on your last pick with like even if we bypassed running back there and took like a Taj Brooks at the tail end here, like
Yeah.
kind of making a thinner bet at the same thesis makes a lot of sense to me there.
Yeah.
But now dude, we've created a really nice roster here where we got like 3 picks of like I'm not going to call them all luxury picks because it's a 2-5-6-2 right now, but it is truly choose your own adventure right now because I do feel we're very strong across the board here.
Yeah, I think that's a benefit of drafting balanced teams in general.
Mhm.
It's something I do a lot to kind of build out like my starting lineup in the first 8-ish rounds. Yeah, you don't have to do that all the time, but I do think there's some obvious benefits to it. You minimize your diminishing returns, and then you open up flexibility late in the drafts. So yeah, it kind of gets like some shots taken at it, like you're a balance bro, but I don't know, man. I see some positives with the trend.
No, yeah, I'm in lockstep with you there. I do really like this balanced approach here. Not a ton of week 17 correlation. Don't necessarily know your definitive stance on that, but I'm fine with it, man. I think bringbacks in a vacuum are overstated, but
Yes.
yeah,
I think it's almost meaningless. I think it's almost
love it.
meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stafford and Darnold roll off there, kind of taking away our backstack quarterback options. Ford looks like he might make it all the way back to us. A lot of green on the board. We could take a ceiling shot on like Jalen Noel, but he kind of stays around. What do you think this team needs?
I would go Darius Slayton he's my
Okay.
highest drafted player. A little bit of a scroll down type in this range. Doesn't get drafted every single time. Opens up a third quarterback. We're feeling frisky about it. Also, like the Malik Neighbor stuff, I think he's going to be fine. Most likely he's going to be fine, but he does visit the trainers a lot for a toe injury that he's had since college. Like at any point that wants to go sideways, there's not many other guys to throw the ball to. So I think he's just a good option to set up. Like if we wanted to go Russ Theo Johnson in these last two picks to like have all our quarterbacks and tight ends built out together, like I think that would make some sense.
I'm about it. I'm about that for sure. Yeah, that's a fun way to land this plane for sure. Russ also traditionally speaking a good deep ball accuracy guy. Like, he's always been like he takes too many sacks because he holds on to the ball too long and he's not as mobile as he once was. But he's also a eyes downfield deep ball guy for years and years. And that's like the one thing where, everybody looked at the film from the Broncos and like, hey, maybe his stats didn't back up how well he actually played there because the deep ball accuracy was still there. The question I will ask you is it Theo Johnson first and then Russ, or is it lock up Russ with the higher ADP?
Oh man, that's such a tough question. I think we need the tight end more than we need the quarterback. So I think I would go Theo first and then see what happens with Russ. There's a lot of like Malik Neighbors drafters that's like, I hate Russ no matter what. Or they could say, I'm a Jackson Dart guy. And then we can in turn say, you know what? We're all of a sudden Jackson Dart people on the 18th round. But
I mean, Jackson Dart makes a lot of sense on this roster too, because we do have two, solid week to week starters at the quarterback position. So you do take a little bit more of a ceiling shot, I guess, with Jackson Dart, like the mystery box of the unknown versus the mean projection of 16.8 fantasy points in week 6 from Russell Wilson. So there is a little bit of a mystery box element there. I have one more thought there. Oh, Slayton. Coach Speak Index stuff in the Discord the other day. Dayball singing his praises in a huge way too, just to double down on your Slayton love, just talking about, veteran leader, how much he means to the franchise, yada, yada. Like he's been this guy that's just lingered around forever in rounds 15 and 18 since BBM 3, 2, whatever. And we just keep clicking his name. And then he gives us, 85 fantasy points with 2 spike weeks every single year. But nice to see from Dayball that he's pumping his tires.
They gave him $22 million guaranteed this offseason. Like that's a lot of money, man. It's like guaranteed money for multiple years. Yeah.
That's almost 3 times Keenan Allen.
It really is. Like they're serious about Darius Slayton, man. He has like, I think it was 8 games. I looked at it, like 90 plus yards and a touchdown throughout his career. Like that's a lot of usable weeks right there. And this is by far the best quarterback he's ever had. He's been dealing with absolute crap in terms of downfield capabilities. And that's like the only thing Darius Slayton's good at. So like you said with Russ, like Russ and Slayton, the money, the guaranteed snaps, it's a lot going in his favor. So yeah, he's not going to finish as the wide receiver 14 this year, but I think he's got way more odds of hitting your lineup multiple times than pretty much everyone else around him.
Love it. People are showing off for you, Hayden, here. Some fancy play syndrome at the end here. We're getting Taj Brooks. We're getting Torrey Horton. We're getting Nick Westbrook-Akine, Kyle Monangai mixed in here. Sean Tucker. Boys be scrolling tonight.
Well, this team, the feisty whale goes Tesla, Ayuman Noor, Sean Tucker, Malik Washington. We're going with 4 back-to-back scroll downs, man.
Feisty is one way to describe it. I love that.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of in agreement here. Russell Wilson, the solver, agrees with us. as well. For whatever reason, Bit Holder ended up taking him. I guess Jackson Dart would be a consolation prize. Is that what you have done? If we're going to take Russell Wilson, but like consolation prize would have been Dart as well.
Yeah, him, like Yoshi Voss. I think this team could use another wide receiver, but I think 7 is kind of my baseline for what I'm shooting for wide receivers. And we fought back enough to feel comfortable. So like, this would be like as bad of a wide receiver room I would trot out and like feel fine about it.
Sure.
Just knowing that we have the other positions, feeling very good about that. I mean, getting all your quarterbacks with all of your tight ends, that's beautiful stuff right there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. We fucking cooked, bro. I sometimes lead the guests astray by wanting to scroll too far, but you were on the same page as me, wanting to scroll in those last 3 rounds. It was done so in a intelligent manner with the 3 stack, and then stacking up the onesies with all of them feels real good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a fun build. We did 3 running backs earlier than most, and then I think still landed the plane. Never panic.
Never panic. Absolutely not. Hayden, I got a question for you before we just do a recap on this team and get out of here. Is the solver in particular has the ability to determine your correlation patterns and what would prompt for you in BBM specifically. If you had to attribute the importance of week 17, week 16, and week 15, like high, medium, low, 0 in your mind. Let's start with week 17. What is the importance in BBM specifically on that scale for you?
It's extremely low. If I was like making a decision tree, it would be roster construction and like understanding diminishing returns, not over investing into one position too much. It would be team stacking, which you get the benefit of week 15 correlation, week 16 correlation, week 17 correlation, plus all of the regular season stuff. So to me, it's those 2 things, like roster construction plus team stacking, staying around ADP, finding a couple uniqueness angles, whether that's in the round 2-3 turn or the round 1-2 turn or your round 18 selection. And the teammate correlation is 1 greater in each individual game than the bring back correlation. You get it through the entire season. And what's happened recently is because everybody talks about week 17, the players are actually overlapping more only because they play each other in week 17. If I told you that you get a 5% boost because of bring back correlation, but the field is doing it 30% of the time, wouldn't you just fade that? And I think that's the point that no one talks about, where I think we've already exceeded that. So I think that, yes, having a little bit of bring back correlation in theory does matter. It's so low on my priority list that's why I think it's like pretty much meaningless, especially because everybody talks about it so much. So yeah, roster construction, diminishing returns, number 1, team stacking, number 2, staying around ADP, number 3. Those are the big parts of it. Have some player takes, and then see where the correlation goes beyond that.
Awesome, bro. Yeah, I kind of echo the sentiments too, that like we might be falling into bad chalk patterns of drafting by doing so. And like chalk will never be fully magnified in BBM because every player can only be drafted at an 8.3% frequency. So, but if I was like, yo, we're going to overlap like 10,000 times with Chase, Higgins, and pulling up Harrison
Marv would not be a early 3rd round pick if he had a different matchup. That is the truth. So you're also bringing up guys and adding more ownership overlap and sacrificing projected points because of this. And you can look at the ADP shifts before and after the schedule release, and you can see this for the last couple of years. So I would like to see some math on making sure that the added bring back correlation is worth the sacrifice and some projected points and the overlap ownership. And I think that's a very complicated problem, but I just know how little bring back correlation there is and how easy it would be to over index for it.
Right. And like there's 16 weeks where everything can go belly up on you before we even get to 17. So like if we were just playing like a 1-week contest, like probably the bring back notion would play up a little bit more. But the fact that there's like 16 weeks of, Marvin Harrison, getting hurt or underperforming or something like that, even to get there, negates the fact that like you would want, how many chase teams are you going to have in a 150 set? Maybe you're lucky enough to have 12 of them. Maybe you're lucky enough to have 15 of them somehow, but you're looking at that and you're going, do I really want all of that tethered to the outcome of Marvin Harrison? And
For sure.
a large percentage of the field is saying yes for whatever reason.
And that's insane. You just draft the Josh Allen team. On top of that, you're not drafting the Joe Burrow stack. You've now made your team unique because now you're the only team that has Josh Allen with Jamar Chase, except for Liam, of course. But yeah, I think that's the big discussion. And this is very simplistic, but I really do believe this. You only get to week 15 if you advance from the first round,
right.
And you only get to week 16. So you have to multiply. And Leone's talked about this a ton. And I'm guessing the back end of the solver and all this type of stuff is really understanding this. Is like you have to like actually advance. Call me crazy, but you do have to advance to show up to the pod. So like it's just one of those things, man. Like I think it's very easy to overdo it.
Yeah, no, it's flipping a coin multiple times, right? Where you multiply the odds as it keeps going to run out like 7 heads in a row, opposed to like flipping it as an individual instance, right? So just long-winded way of getting to the fact that with the solver specifically, Hayden would be turning down the correlation of the weeks and boosting ADP value and boosting team level correlation would be his way to play it. So just like to ask the question and stuff, get it differentiated.
I think that the week 7, like to me, week 17 matters in the types of players that are going to be doing better down the stretch. Like I believe in that. So like when people are like, week 17 is all that matters, that's why I like to draft rookies. I hear you on that. Like there's proven results of why that's the case. But I also think that you can't only draft a bunch of rookies on your team because you actually have to advance. Same thing. I think that's a big problem with the zero RB stuff is like, yes, you could win your redraft league with a zero RB team because 6 out of the 12 teams make it to the playoffs in your redraft league. It's easier to get to the playoffs with a zero running back team. The bar's lower. In best ball, you got to come first or second, and that means you got to get a bunch of running back points early on. So that's why I always think that the hero running back teams, the double running back teams, are going to look a little bit better. Yes, they have to survive throughout the whole season. Yes, you want to pair these running backs with some rookies down the stretch. But you do have to advance through each round. It's like it feels like I'm the crazy one for saying this.
You're taking the crazy pills, bro. You're taking the crazy pills.
Yeah.
We got this beautiful solver report here to see where we spent some of the draft capital and all that good stuff. Our build through the first half was a 1-3-5-0. We ended with a 3-5-7-3, despite attacking that tight end pocket that we really liked, and despite having an elite quarterback on the left-hand side of the board. We did get a bunch of falling value on Jordan Love. That's kind of like our best ADP spot there. I'll zoom this in for, let me see 1 second here, so people can see here. And I will ask you the pressing question of this show that we have every single day here, Hayden. But Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Russell Wilson, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Kenneth Walker III, Austin Eckler, Jalen Wright, CeeDee Lamb, both your and I's favorite, or one of our favorite clicks in the first round there, but one of our most underpriced clicks and favorite guy to get overexposed to. Stephon Diggs, Jordan Addison with the newly minted 3-game suspension. Michael Pittman Jr. was back on the practice field today. Cooper Kupp, Joshua Palmer with a stack, Darius Slayton with a stack, and then Tucker Kraft, Dalton Kincaid, and Theo Johnson, all individually stacked with our quarterbacks. The pressing question of our generation here, Hayden, is does this team suck or does this team fuck?
This team fucks. I mean, everything we talked about before the show, we kind of nailed it on. We had a couple of reaches here and there, but it's mostly for correlation purposes. We got to get lucky with our wide receivers. Like Diggs got to be himself again. Pittman's got to go back. Kupp's one of these dusty olds has to come back at wide receiver. But if that happens, I really think that we overproject in the flex, running backs, quarterbacks, and tight ends. So it's really just kind of figuring out wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and that's it. It's half PPR, baby.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, man. This team does definitively fuck in my estimation. And like, just maybe not like crazy, kinky, stylistic, like just gets the job done, you know? Like this is a team that just gets the job done at every single position. And then you can tell yourself a story for the ceiling case as well there. I think maybe the only place we could have gone a little bit different is this Ken Walker pick, but the wide receivers all ran off so early that it was kind of like, do we really like DK there? This was the kind of macro conversation we had at the beginning of the program. They're talking about the bust rates associated with ADPs of these round 4 and 5 wide receivers. So, like, getting the projectable volume of Ken Walker, or do you prefer the 1v1 of like a DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle there, and then we end up with David Montgomery or something like that, or even a bit later?
Yeah, I just think that the running backs projects for so many more points there that
Yeah.
I'll hope that he stays healthy and see what happens. So yeah, I'm fine with it. I would rather break ties in favor of the running back spot in that range. I just think that we've seen DK Metcalf for a long time have some moments. Same thing with like Zay Flowers, Cortland Sutton, like that kind of range. Like they're going to be wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s, depending on how the season breaks out. I don't think they're going to be top 12 guys. I think there's a chance Kenneth Walker could be a top 12 running back this year. So
Yeah, I mean, outside of missing the most recent practices with the foot thing, every review about Ken Walker is so glowing. You know, outside zone, perfect fit. Oh, he's past his ability to catch the ball. I think Nez keeps bringing up a stat that he caught 43 passes last year in like, I guess it was 13 games total. Don't quote me on it, but it was something like that he's mentioned a couple times. Yeah, truly feels good there. Hayden, thank you so much, man. It's always so fun. Friends of the program here, if you are watching for the first time because of Hayden, Badge Bros bring you content as the banner indicates over here. Underdog, adjacent contact on a daily. We do everything from WNBA to NBA to MLB. I'm going to do an MLB for the members only right after this. If you guys are hanging out on the X side, jump on over to YouTube at the Badge Bros there and just hop in, give us a follow, like, subscribe, notification. We break down every single football slate into the season. We're here every single day, 2 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, and a bonus show on Saturdays, courtesy of the Solver, who was the lead sponsor of this show as well. So, yeah, please and thank you. But first and foremost, thank you, Hayden, for doing this. Always one of my favorite shows of the year is when we get together, my friend.
yeah, if you guys are watching, like this is how you prep for the daily drafts. So we talk about best ball in the offseason, and then in season we have quick drafts. 36 players get drafted, different slates throughout the week. These guys break it down like literally every single day. So it's a really fun format. Takes 10 minutes to draft a team. I think there's also some pretty big edges in that one, and we finally released some data on that. So I think that this year it's like a race to the edge, and I think these guys will get you started in that. So make sure to follow.
Yeah, little tease there that yeah, myself, co-host Nez, and Pete Overzet have been digging through that data with a fine-tooth comb, and we got some very fun stuff coming your guys' way for the Battle Royale season here, and we break those down all week long and then do a definitive primer show called Off and On the Clock on Fridays there with Pete Overzet. So breaking down the slate every single week. If you're invested in the football space, we are here, Underdog Daily. Outside of that, everybody's favorite time of the show, the end. Peace. Thank you, Hayden.